I was number two on the GPMG, and my colleague John Alden, he was number one. Anyway, off we went, trying to make our way back to Government House. I remember getting to the end of one sort of T-junction in the road, and there were rounds coming down the road from us from a tree line, some 400-500 metres in front of us. At that point we set up the gun and put a lot of rounds into that. There was another section on the other side of the road which had been pinned down and couldn't get across because whoever was in the bottom of the sort of the wooded area, obviously we couldn't see them, but they were putting rounds down so nobody could move around. Put rounds down into that and then proceeded to make our way back to get back to Government House. I would have thought there's maybe as many as 30, 35 Marines actually in Government House at this time. By this time, we're quite aware of the fact that we believe there's about several thousand Argentinians landed on the islands. There's Amtrak vehicles running around all over the place. We knew some had come down into Stanley. The ridge line all around the back of Government House is pretty well covered with Argentinians. We know that because they opened fire on us earlier on. So to be quite truthful, it's pretty desperate. We realised that there's no getting out of this one really. At that time, I knew this is the day I'm going to die. And in my mind, that's it, it's happening. I'd accepted it, I'd taken that, I'd put it into my mind, said a few sort of, not prayers, but tried to send messages to my mum and dad and things like that, you know, and my girlfriend at the time. But in my mind, that was it. We sat in there for, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. There were one or two incidents where the Argentinians had tried to get into Government House. They had, we believe, one or two were possibly shot. For my own personal thing, we were told that they'd got into the roof space up above where we were. And so they asked us to go up and clear basically the attic, but it was really quite a big attic and there's a lot of stuff in there. But you had to go up a little narrow stair, and I remember I was going up the narrow stair and had to try and kick the door into the attic. At that point, we believed there are armed Argentinians in there. I kicked the door down, we all go flooding in, and of course it's so narrow that you can only go in one at a time. Expecting to confront the enemy, but didn't happen. They weren't actually in there. They had got into Government House in other places, but they weren't in there. There was a white flag put up. We were told to cease fire. There was a white flag. The Argentinians were approaching and coming to speak to us, and somebody took a shot at the white flag. That was on the other side of the house from where I was. Anyway, it all come to a little bit of a lull, and the Governor Rexont obviously decided to surrender, which on reflection obviously saved our lives. We wouldn't have surrendered, and at the time it was pretty devastating to us. You know, I can honestly say at that moment in time would sooner have died than surrender. I know it sounds a little bit dramatic, but that's how I personally felt. I'm not saying I can't speak for anyone else, but that's how I felt, and I know a lot of other people did feel that way.